Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is trainer education. We're continuing in our Owning Your Own Gym series, and we have the discussion of should you open a public versus a private gym. So thankfully, we've been getting feedback from a couple trainers actually, which is super fun, about this series of Owning Your Own Gym, and they were excited, they were interested, and started asking some fun questions. So thank you very, very, very much for the replies. I can tell by the data tracking systems that people do listen to the podcast, but man, is it so rewarding and fun when you hear feedback. You know, people texting or emailing or mentioning things on social media. So it's super motivating, and thank you very, very much for being involved in that way. So thank you. Now, before I get too much into this podcast, I do want to warn you, I don't feel really good today. I've been sick the past couple days, so I had a couple podcasts in reserve, so thankfully I didn't have to record those when I was sick. But I'm going to try my best to not cough or be annoying more so than usual in today's podcast. But I wanted to warn you ahead of time. So with owning your own gym, there is kind of like two different ways you can look at the public versus private aspects. One of them is the idea or the aspect of owning it, being the owner of the gym, and whether you would like a public or a private gym format for being the owner. Then the other thing is whether you want to be a trainer or not. So there are people who own gyms that don't train. That's kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's common sense, but I figured I'd mention that. Then there are people who own gyms who also want to train. And if you're wanting to be a trainer and open the gym, the smaller the size of the gym, the more you're going to be able to be a trainer. And we'll talk more about that as we go through it. But if you're not looking to be a trainer, then usually the larger the size gym you own, it allows you more potential income. So there's kind of two general things to think of, and we'll come back and summarize everything towards the end. But that's something you can kind of start to think of as you're listening to this podcast the whole way through, is do I want to be a trainer and an owner, or do I want to be just an owner? And there is going to be a difference in the way in which you might want to structure your gym depending on which viewpoint you have of that kind of dichotomy. So owning a gym. Let's talk about it from being the owner's perspective. Public gym, the pros of owning a gym that's public, meaning you have an open membership and you're going to have, 100, 200, maybe more members. You might even have a big ass gym and have 1,000. But typically, if you're listening to this, you're probably not going to have enough money to start your gym to like large enough that you're going to have like 1,000 members or something like that. So you're most likely going to get into a few hundred type member situation, and then you would build that for 5 or 10 years, trying to like pay off loans, save some income, and then maybe advance to a bigger location later on. But or unless you're working with partners, so that's kind of a little bit of a different crazy thing about financial aspects and stuff. So but owning your own gym, the pros is you have the membership income. So when your members come in and they're paying their membership and their monthly dues and whatnot, that actually gives you money. So whereas if you're in a private gym, you open your gym and you have to pay for everything. You pay for the electricity, the rent, the city taxes, all that stuff like quarterly taxes, all the other crazy shit you got to pay, property taxes and all that. Everything falls on your shoulders to make every dime. Whereas when you open a public gym, the membership can kind of buffer some of that. Now, we'll talk about the cons of membership. There actually is some negatives to it. But the pros of having your public gym is, like I said, it gets you that membership income. So you have some money already guaranteed to you through the membership. And then through the membership, you have more income possibilities by like selling merchandise. You can get t-shirts made, I don't know, whatever the hell else you want, like coffee mugs, anything. So merchandise of any kind. You can do supplement sales, so you can sell your own supplements at the gym. You can do indirect programming sales. So, for example, maybe you used to be a trainer or you know a good bit about training, but you just don't want to take the time and the commitment to being the trainer. Well, you can still sell fitness programs. So you can write, like, say, 16-week to a summer body program, and sell those as like indirect. And you also have other trainers as potential income. So since you have a high membership, you're going to end up having more members than people that you could actually physically address in training. You can't eventually train every member. You wouldn't have the time. So therefore, it gives you potential earnings to hire and bring in other members. So you have easier access to more ways to make money. So the membership already brings you money. Then through the membership people, you would say, okay, what else would these people be spending their money on that I could provide at my gym? So they're going to need gym clothes. I can provide gym clothes. They're going to need supplements. I can provide supplements. They're going to need some idea of how to train. So I can provide low-cost programming, and I can provide training. So you might have something that, I'm just making up numbers, by the way, so please don't stick to these numbers. This is just give you illustration. You might have programming that's $20 a month. You have an introductory level, kind of like base level of training, maybe 30-minute sessions that's $40 a month. Then you have 1-hour sessions that are $60 a month. So you have different pay schemes. So if the best they can afford is $20, they at least have an option. If somebody has more money and they would be willing to spend more money, you have to give them a higher cost options. So you then would have the 40 and the 60 option. So you want to provide something for people who don't have a lot of money. So that way you can at least get some money and they can at least get some help. But you also want to provide things for people that have a ton of money and they are prioritizing their health and they want to make sure that they get the most for it, so they're willing to pay the most. So you have to have ways in which people can pay you money that are reflective of all categories of people. Don't just assume everyone's poor and only give poor options. You're going to be limiting your money. Also, don't be an asshole and just charge everybody $1 million for things. Give some lower cost options so that way some people can get some help and you can get some money. So you can't get blood from a stone, as they say, or at least I think that's a saying. So if you're like, I'm only going to provide options that are a lot of money, and if people care, they'll pay more. Well, if they don't have more to pay, if they're already taxed out, and they don't really have anything extra, you don't want them, excuse me, you don't want them trying to take money off their table like kids' food, or take money off of things that are important for them. If all they have to give is $20 a month, then give them an option for $20 a month. So just think of that, of having different layers of pricing options. And then the other benefit of having a public gym is the gym can grow faster at the start by increased word of mouth. So because you'll just have more people, you'll have more people talking. So do a damn good job so that way they're talking positively. And that kind of grows the gym faster than a private gym. So in a private gym, obviously you're not going to have like membership. You're going to more so be doing it as like a private training center. So you can get growth from word of mouth, but if you only have 10 clients, that's only 10 people doing word of mouth. Whereas if you have 100 members, that's 100 mouths. So having a public gym lets things grow faster. So if you're in a bigger deficit debt-wise and opening your gym is going to put you behind, then you might want to option out on things that can let you grow faster, and then maybe looking at adding a private training center within your gym later on, or converting later on. Then the last benefit of owning a public gym is you get to impact a lot of people. You get to meet a lot of people, you get to network. So just kind of like if you're considering the degree of significance of work. So there's the amount of people, you can look at this and look at it in two ways. There's probably more than two ways. But you can say, how many people can I help? Or you can say, how deeply can I help each person? So if you're the person that says, how many people can I help? A public gym helps you help more people. If you're the type that is interested in depth of help, well, then a private gym actually might be your better option. So this is something you might want to consider before you would actually open your own gym, is which which effect do I want to have? Do I want to focus on depth of help, or do I want to help a lot of people some? Now, granted, if you're asking that question at all, if you have any concern of helping people, you're probably going to want to help a lot of people and help them deeply. But there might be one style that you're more passionate about. So, for example, I enjoy one-on-one personal training. I like that structure much better than I like group training. It just fits my personality better, and I do tend to lean towards the depth of help. That's what I focus kind of more so on, or that's what I feel bad about when I feel like I'm falling behind on depth of help with clients. Whereas if I have to cut a few people or put a couple people on a waiting list in order for me to stay at a good depth, I don't feel bad about that. So I tend to lean more towards wanting to help people deeply than worrying about trying to help like millions of people. So there's enough other people helping people in the world. I don't have to focus on trying to get everybody. So I can, have my 30 clients, have my 100 members, and that is a very significant life. And if I can help that many people in life, that'll be a ridiculous level of success, in my opinion. So, but those are some things to consider. So the pros of owning a public gym is you get the membership income to help pay your base costs. You also have increased potential earnings from other areas. So merchandise, supplements, indirect programming, and other trainers. You have faster growth due to word of mouth, and you get to have a bigger or wider based impact on people. Now, there are many others, but like you can see, we're already at the 12-minute mark. So I'm trying to just give a couple highlights per category. Get your guys and girls' brains thinking. And maybe this will spark some thoughts and give you some ideas to kind of create some pros and cons list of your own and just give you more information to think through. The cons, the negatives of owning a public gym is you're going to have a higher cost because to have a public gym, you have to have more space than what you would want in a private gym. So I can train somebody in a really good private facility that, it might be like 10 foot by 10 foot, enough to fit a barbell in, and you can have great workouts, okay? Barbell and a squat rack, and you're good. But that's not going to allow for a lot of membership. So typically, if you're going to have a public gym, you have to start with a larger location. So I started with a location of 3,500 square foot, and that includes the offices. So I don't really have it calculated out to the square footage available for just the members, but let's just say roughly it's a 3,000. I also got lucky that outside of my gym, there's a canopy area of cement that runs the entire front face of our gym. And that gives me, 100 extra feet by maybe 10 feet wide. So let's add an extra 1,000. So I have an extra 1,000 square feet of gym usage for free. So that's pretty badass. So I have 4,000 square feet of gym usage, and we have roughly about 100 members. I cap it at 100. So anytime we've gone over 100 in the past, it kind of gets too crowded and people don't get great workouts. And the people who are most concerned with great workouts leave, which are your best people. And then the people who don't really give a shit, they stay because they don't really give a shit. So I didn't really like that. I didn't like losing my best people. So I capped it at 100 and found out that that was enough to pay my bills. And it kept the good people, there wasn't so many people that the good people felt clustered. Then the benefit of that is it seemed to work well square footage wise. So as a review again, I have a 3,000 square foot usable area inside. I have an extra 1,000 square foot usable outside. And that is well convenient, plenty enough for 100 membership. So now I have a 24-hour gym. So I might have, 10 to 15 regular members who come between, say, like 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. So that might be where if you have limited hours, you might find, okay, to cram 100 members into only, say, 16 hours of the day, I maybe am going to run into square footage issues. But just to give you some reference, something to think of, is I have a 3,000 square foot inside gym, 1,000 square foot outside. We have 100 people membership, and we're totally fine. So give you some ideas. So would I need to have 3,000 square feet if I was going to have a private gym? Hell no, that would be ridiculously too big. Okay, so with 3,000 square feet compared to maybe 1,000. So if a private gym, maybe 1,000 square feet is plenty. But if I want to have a public gym, I have to have 3,000 square feet because I have to have room. With that extra square footage comes extra cost. You can have higher rent, higher taxes like city taxes like TICAM and that kind of crap, quarterly taxes, all those federal tax shit, property tax, higher equipment costs because you have to buy more equipment than what you would use with a single client. You have to have more equipment because you have more members. That also comes with replacement costs and upholstery, stuff like that. So we have for example, in our gym, we have resistance bands that you use in powerlifting. We typically have 3 full sets available in our gym. And I don't know how in the hell, but those damn things get beat up so much. And I'm constantly replacing those damn things. And even the tiniest set, the little orange ones, cost like $6. And if you're replacing that like every month, that adds up throughout the year. So throughout the year, I'm spending a couple $100 just on bands. And that's a very small factor of a gym equipment, but it gives you an idea of what it can cost. So with a public gym comes way more expenses. So like I said, it's higher overhead, higher rent, higher taxes, higher city taxes, property taxes, federal taxes. You have higher equipment cost to even get equipment. You have higher replacement costs. So that's something to consider. So your hope would be that the membership count that you have would pay for the overall costs. So if I'm just making up numbers, because it makes the math easy. So say I have 100 members and everybody's paying $40. So that would be $4,000. Does $4,000 cover your rent, your taxes, your equipment replacement costs? And does it actually pay extra for toiletries? I didn't even mention electricity, so shit, that's one thing. Air conditioning. So air conditioning can run several hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month, especially in the summer if you live in hot climates. And then also your membership should cover for extra on top to where you can reinvest back into the equipment. So you want to be making extra money per month that you can save and then buy a new piece of equipment here or there, so you're not buying it out of your pocket. So you have to charge enough in membership to cover all of that stuff. So if you have an open gym, your membership should completely cover the cost of the gym. Completely. And then your income as a trainer or whatever else you'd want to do would be on the side. Okay? Now, if you look at other types of structures like CrossFit gyms, for example, they have enough in membership earnings to pay for the entire cost of their gym, and then maybe it pays for the salary of that person then to run the gym, to be the manager of the gym. So you have to look at, not only do you have to pay for your gym, you also have to pay for the cost of your life. So how are you going to make enough money to pay for the gym, and then also make enough money that you can live comfortably and happy and do what you want to do? So these are some things you have to balance out. There are a lot of factors at play, but it's something you got to think of. So some other cons or negatives to owning a public gym is there's other work. So you have to do the financial aspect of keeping track of all the finances of memberships and selling all that merchandise, supplements, indirect programming. You have to pay attention to other trainers. You have to hire them. You have to stay up with them, keep in touch with them. You have to do the financials for them. So then you have membership communication. So when you have members and you have human beings, they're going to have complaints. They're going to have differing opinions of how things should run. So you have to deal with that. They're also going to be updating, their auto draft information every month. If you have 100 people, everybody's card expires at some time. So you'll be updating a whole bunch of shit all the time financially. You also are going to have the janitorial work. So it's more people to clean up after. So even really good people forget to put stuff away. Even good people drop paper towels on the floor in the bathroom. They're assholes when they do that. Hint, hint to anybody who does that. But they usually don't mean to. But you do have just crazy, crazy, crazy behaviors. I mean, there's stuff I won't even share in this podcast, but there are things that when they came up left me completely dumbfounded, and or the person who had to bring it to my attention, and we're both like, what the hell? Like somebody actually did that, and it was true. Somebody actually did that. So you have to be the janitor. You also have to be the maintenance man. So you got to fix everything that goes bad, or you have to make enough money in membership costs to pay for someone to come fix it. So there is a lot of just other type work that you have to do when you have an open gym. And then there's less personal privacy. So you have way, way, way more demand on your time and your attention, and when you have a public gym versus a private gym. So there are the pros and cons of a public gym. So the pros are membership income. You get like kind of free money by just having people join up. And you have more potential to earn money through, like we said, merchandise, supplements, indirect programming, other trainers, You have faster growth due to increased word of mouth, and you get to help a large amount of people. The cons of a public gym is it costs a lot more. So you have to make sure that the membership cost covers for every single cost. Not only just keeping you alive costs, but future progressive building the business costs. You also have increased other types of work. So you won't be able to be just a trainer exclusively. You have to do a whole bunch of other shit. You have to be the gym manager. And you have less personal privacy. So that is kind of the pros and cons, the goods and bads of public gyms. Now, private gyms. Okay. Some pros are there's lower cost. So you don't need as much space. So you're going to have lower cost in rent, in taxes. You don't need as much equipment, so you're going to have lower cost in equipment. You're also going to have lower usage rates, therefore you won't have to replace equipment as much. So that's going to help a lot. So there's just overall less cost. There's not no cost. Don't get me wrong, it's still expensive. But there's lower costs. So I know some private gyms that can run at $1,500 a month, and then I know public gyms that cost over $5,000 to run a month, that are even still just a couple hundred membership. So you're talking about a pretty large difference there. So the pros are a lower cost. Lower cost to get started, lower cost to stay open. There's less other work, so you don't have to sign up a bunch of members. You don't have to deal with as much complaints. You don't have as much people to clean up after it all the time. So there's a lot less other work. So you don't have to be as much of a gym manager. You can spend more time being a trainer. And you have increased privacy. So you kind of get to do your own thing all the time because there's never anybody just kind of popping in on you. So demanding your time. Or there's less people, let's say that. There's definitely not nobody. So anybody who's a private gym owner just kind of scoffed at that, as you should. So it's not that you don't have demands on your time. You're just going to have a lot less demands. So if you work with a total of 50 people versus somebody who has a membership of 200 to 300, obviously the person with 200 to 300 people in their life is going to get interrupted more. So there is increased privacy in your life. So your personal life when you do a private gym. So those are kind of the main pros. Lower costs all over the board, everywhere. So rent, taxes, equipment, etc. And there's less other work. So you have to spend less time being, a gym manager, the financial person, the janitor, something, blah, 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 blah. You just get to be more of a trainer. And there's increased privacy. The cons, the major, major cons to a private gym is you are responsible for every penny. So there's an extreme amount of financial pressure when you have a private gym. There's less passive income possibilities. So can you still sell shirts to your clients? Yes, but you're not going to sell as many. Can you still sell supplements? Yes, but you're not going to sell as many. Can you still sell programming? Yes, but you're not going to sell as many. And can you still hire another trainer? Possibly, yes, if your facility is large enough and you eventually build a large enough word of mouth. Excuse me. So there is still potential for passive income possibilities, okay, or more indirect income, but it's ridiculously lower level, very, very, very low level, to the point where it might not pay much for the time that you'd have to invest into it. So, for example, the time it takes to make shirts is surprisingly more time than you'd think. So you have to not only make money per shirt, but you have to make enough money per shirt to pay for the time that you invested. So if it took you 8 hours to put together a design, to get that design like submitted to some company, then going to pick up the shirts, and say you have 8 hours into that. You need to make enough money off your shirts to pay for the shirts themselves, plus those 8 hours. And that would only let you break even. So then you would get maybe the advertising for the shirt for nothing, for free. But wouldn't you like to actually make money off that? So if you sell a shirt for $20, but it only costs you, like, say, $12, you don't make $8. That $8 gets reinvested into the time that it took you to make the shirts in the first place. Okay? That has to be paid off first before there's actually profit. So you have to recognize that if you put time into something, you're already at a financial debt. So you have to pay back your time before you actually make profit. Be careful about the way you think of profit. A lot of times I talk to trainers and gym owners, and they don't account for their own time. So they're saying, like, oh, I did this, this, and this, and I made $200. Yeah, but it took you 4 hours to do it. How much money would you expect to make per hour if you were training a client? Let's just say it was $50 because it makes the math easy. So you train clients at $50 an hour. If you spent 4 hours to do this project and you made quote unquote $200 profit, no, you didn't. You broke even. You essentially got the money back for the time that you invested into it. Now, you could have invested in the training program, training people. So you didn't make money. You broke even. So that's something that's very important to think of, is your time is worth something. Because as your business gets bigger, all of a sudden you're going to have to pay somebody to do stuff. Excuse me. So if you're successful in business, your business will become bigger than you. Okay? And you'll have to hire people. Well, what happens if you had to hire somebody at $50 an hour to do that project? So all of a sudden you had that $200 that you thought you profited from the project, but that would actually be the salary for the person you had to hire. Okay? So you didn't make anything for that. Now, maybe during that time that allowed you to train 4 clients. So you made, maybe $200 there. Okay, but you did this project on the side, you paid that person, you got no benefit out of it, and then you still had to work the 4 hours. So there's really no progressive benefit there. So you have to be very careful about how you consider profit. Okay? So I won't keep harping on that, but that's something to think of. The next con we have for private gym is the increase in marketing pressure and the increase in the responsibility to build your business. So you will not have much word of mouth. So you have to get out there and promote yourself. I have found that the younger generations, so I'm 35, and I've found that people in their kind of like mid to early 20s don't have really any fear of putting themselves on social media. So it used to be when you ask people, like, what was your fears in life, the number one fear was always public speaking, and then it was like death. Well, the newer generation, they grow up with public speaking. They grew up with social media. So the younger generation, they are totally fine with being on social media for the most part. So that's not really the pressure. The pressure comes, can you do it correctly? So there's a book called Building a Story Brand. If you have any responsibility with marketing, you want to read that book, Building a Story Brand. Okay, I apologize, I don't remember the author right now, but I'll try to put that in the podcast notes. But what that book does is it puts it in a very concise and very understandable way in which you should advertise your business. Your business is the guiding help for your clientele. So too often, I've talked about this in past podcasts, but too often when people advertise their business or themselves as personal trainers, they make themselves out to be the hero. They're like, oh, look at me, look how awesome I am, look how good I look at me shirtless for no reason whatsoever, or look at me like, oh, here's a new pair of shorts I got that basically just show off your ass. Like how many women, and this is, feel free to be slightly offended, but I'm going to say it anyhow, is girls will make a post that unnecessarily shows off their body in some way. And it's obviously not bad for advertising. It's going to work. Nothing beats TNA, as they say. And I'll let you figure out what that means. But it works, but is that the best way to build your brand in terms of building the character that you want to display for your business? Is your business just about, girls with cute butts? Or is your business going to be how to empower girls to live their fullest life, have great self confidence, go out there and crush the freaking world, and not have so much concern over physical looks? Understand that they have value outside of their physical look. Okay, understand that they have oh my God, there's so much empowerment in women. Women are way more awesome than you realize, but they have so many great things and great qualities above just whether or not their butt looks good in leggings. So if that's all you're showing in your advertising, that apparently shows that that's your highest priority. Is that really what you want your business to be about? So if you're a male trainer and all you ever show is shirtless pics and you doing some stupid ass lift, oh, here's me benching 315 for 10. No one gives a shit. Congratulations that you can bench 315 for 10. Why are you doing it shirtless and getting sweat all over the equipment is ridiculous. So put a damn shirt on and discuss in the advertising how you can teach someone else to bench 315 for 10. So don't make yourself the hero. That doesn't mean you can't celebrate your victories. Okay, I'm not saying that. Still celebrate yourself. But don't celebrate it as in, look how